Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mind Your Mental. Just a reminder that this podcast is not meant to be a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health professional. I know they are hard to find, and I get that. I have a bunch of resources on my website if you need them, but I am not your clinician. I am a psychologist, but I am not your psychologist. So if you need any specific help, please look for the help of a licensed mental health professional. Learn all you can learn from the podcast. Enjoy the episode. Welcome again. You heard the amazing bio for Trell Thomas. Welcome to Mind Your Mental community. Welcome to the podcast. Actually, I have a community and the podcast. So I wanted to talk to you about a bunch of different things, but I wanted to start off with the etiology of the Black Excellence Brunch overall. I know that it was inspired by Sunday dinners of your childhood in South Carolina. Can you share a particularly fond memory from those dinners that you strive to maybe recreate at each brunch?
Yeah, so I have to totally give the credit to my mother and my grandmother who really kept the tradition of Sunday dinner alive and well in my home growing up. And my mom would host it at our home actually every Sunday. And everything is etched in my memory, right? From the smell to the sounds of laughter to, just the embracing of like family members and friends and church members and the community and neighbors. So I think the fondest memories that I have are just being surrounded with love and feeling it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not just seeing and hearing love, but actually feeling that. And I haven't lived in South Carolina in so long, but that feeling never left me.
Yeah, I think that definitely gets embedded generation to generation. With my husband, I very much know for a fact that if I craft a big Sunday dinner, I could pretty much get away with murder for the next week, right? Because it instantly takes him back to, he's from Nashville. I live in Nashville now. His mom throws down. Like after church, you already know what you're getting. And we had that some Sundays, but to me, it always reminds me of like the way we would have big events for dinner for like holidays and stuff like that. A lot of people were actually blessed to have that every single Sunday. And even when I was little, I felt like in addition to the house was always warmer because you were cooking and stuff like that, I genuinely felt like the love was palpable. Like just being around a bunch of like family and friends, and everybody was family at that point, and everybody's talking. It just reminds me of home, because to me home it's never been like a physical place because I move around a lot. It's just my family, right? So I very much, I use it as a cheat code if I done messed up. Like, you know what, I apologize, but you know what I'm gonna do, I'm fried shrimp. You want some chicken? I'm about to go to the farmer's market. I'm about to get a bag of green. Listen,
Yeah.
everyone wants to talk about, listen, I want to tell y'all there are some cheat codes, and if I give this man cooked food, I can get away with murder.
Good.
I'm good.
Yeah.
But I think it's because of the food, but also because a lot of people have that aspect of connection. And I think about it in terms of love, but I also think about it as a form of luxury, because I think it wasn't until I went to college that I didn't realize that everybody didn't come from a home where people cooked. I would be talking about missing my mom's food, and they'd be like, what? Like,
Yeah.
it's Sunday and I'm over here eating pizza in the cab. This is a travesty. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Right,
it was,
what is happening? No, that's real. That's real. I mean, it's such a connection point. Like so much is shared over a meal,
Mhm.
right? Some of the biggest deals I've done have been over meals, not like in a corporate boardroom, right? Like some of the best friends that I've ever made have been like through food,
Mhm.
and through there's something that like allows you to really let down your guard and show up authentically and just be,
Yeah.
which I think really leads us to the best of everything for ourselves when we show up authentically. And I feel like there's something about having a meal and breaking bread with people that allows you to do that.
Yeah. And I think that you've done an amazing job with that, because you very much created just luxurious space. Every time I see the tablescapes, I'm like, like it is a luxurious space for Black people to be celebrated, discussed, and pampered. Why is it so important for you to provide this experience? And how do you make sure it remains inclusive and welcoming? Because it always, you know, from where it came from, just looking from the outside looking in, it looks like it's just a family event, but it's more luxurious. Like it's like, oh, it's a family affair, but we also had it catered. You know what I'm saying? And you can take pictures over here.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that you're able to feel that like digitally and like the things that you read and see because you haven't been to one yet, which we gotta fix that. But I think
Hey everyone, just a reminder that Mind Your Mental is not just a podcast, it is also a amazing community if I do say so myself. It's phenomenal. I mean, you get more access to me. What more could you want in this life? So, if you want to join the community, if you're not already on the community, go to my social media. My social media is the same, Raquel Martin PhD, and DM me the word community so you can get details on joining this amazing flipping community. You get more access to me, y'all. Like, I'm a delight. All right. All right. Hope to see you there.
For me, I always lead with love.
Mhm.
Like everything that I do, right? Like from the brands that I partner with to the people that I invite, the guest list to like even the way I think about like, okay, I get with my event planner and I'll be like, you know what? I want, a moment where people have this or where they have this experience
Yeah.
or when, I'm always thinking through every single portion of it from the time you pull up in your car and I think that really, is felt. You can feel that, you can feel the intention. So I'm big on intentionality. And I always, I was doing these in my home before I started doing them at venues and in SoFi Stadium and in museums. I was doing it in my apartment, and I never wanted to lose like the the feeling that people have like coming around your table.
Mhm.
So I build in all of these components into the Black Excellence Brunch that make it feel like home, right? From sometimes I'll bring the food to people. We have a caterer, but I'll be the one bringing it to people's table. I'll stop by every single table and talk to people and love on them. I build in moments at the brunch where, there can be like that familial, like cousin to cousin kind of like conversation or like things that you had at family dinner. So I'm very intentional about building the program so that people feel that kind of love and family bond and that tradition, yeah, all the way through. But like for me, it was to your point about luxury, it was also really important for when people for to give people the feeling when they walked in of being celebrated,
Yeah.
of being loved on, of being pampered. So I also just build that in at every step, whether it be like having valet for people or having taking people's coats, etc., when they come in the door to like, having like these luxurious florals and pamper moments, right? Like we'll have like massages or like different things where you feel like, oh wow, like this is for me
Yeah.
specifically.
I love that because I focus on Black mental health and my expertise is in Black mental health and Black identity development. And there's so many times where we as a culture don't feel as though we're deserving of any aspect of luxury. We feel as though everything has to be working 24/7. And we feel like anything other than the bare minimum at that time could be extra. And I just always feel like, what's wrong with having moments of extra? Like, what's wrong with having moments of indulgence and being pampered? Like, we're a population that has literally we're brought here against our will and have consistently worked and worked. We have to try every single day to be humanized. What's wrong with getting your flowers and literally just being like, oh, I got the flowers because I wanted them, not because they have a utility. I got that outfit for any occasion. The special occasion is me. It's not a special event. I just want it to be celebrated. And I think that's something that us as a culture and a community, we're talking about building your mental well-being. That's something that we need to understand that you can celebrate yourself. There doesn't have to be a special occasion. It's okay to indulge. Like everything doesn't have to be, just what's the purpose? The purpose is you enjoy it and you deserve it. And Black
Yeah.
people don't get it. Like we deserve that. We're allowed to state, I don't know where I'm gonna wear this to. Well, wear it to the grocery store. You look amazing. Like it doesn't have to always
Mhm.
be a thing. And I think that's something that, it was very much a utility of making us feel as though we deserve less means that we don't ask for more. But I think it's something that we're climbing out of, right? And I really liked
Yeah.
your events because it's just like it's obvious that's something that you center, right? Like, oh, well, we don't have to have valet. We don't have to have anything. We could literally eat peanut butter and jelly every single day. But why? But why?
Yeah.
Like, why
Yeah.
have that? But I will say, so like looking at your entire career, like you've done a bunch of stuff, like when it comes to broadcast journalism, the Obama campaign, the Black Excellence, the boxes where you center like Black the businesses and stuff like that, and now the Black Excellence Brunch. You're also you're doing executive producing on Discovery Plus as well, correct? Like you're doing a
Yeah,
bunch.
I created an executive produced series, a 5-part docu-series about Black men
Yes.
called Profile the Black Man. Yeah, but go on. Like I want you to finish your
I
question
was
though.
going to say, dealing with that, with your aspect of your career, and not only centering, this experience with other people when it comes to compassion, but also in yourself. I read an interview, I read a bunch of them, but I read an interview where you stated that you advised your younger self not to let perfect be the enemy of good, right? How would
Yeah.
you advise someone who's just starting their career, who's interested in, doing as much stuff as you've done? I mean, sometimes that's like a lifetime goal. You're actually pretty young. But how do you advise someone who is starting their career to balance that aspect of ambition? Because you do have to have ambition and goals in order to achieve that with self-compassion. Because it does have to be a balance of, okay, like maybe I didn't make it this way, but maybe I need to try a different way. Maybe it's not perfect, but is it still good enough so that people would get something from what I'm trying to put out?
Yeah. I think my advice is to give yourself so much grace.
Yeah.
And then on top of that grace, give yourself more grace than that. In addition to having to work so hard, or feel like you have to work so hard as a Black person, and also feeling like not good enough a
Mhm.
lot of times, I think that we don't give ourselves enough grace. And I speak from personal experience, right? Like I wouldn't stop and say, you know what, Trell, you did a good job on that thing. It was like all this, and especially like even when we're talking about Black Excellence Brunch a lot in the beginning of Black Excellence Brunch, when I would be done and it would be time to go home, I'd be like, oh, I didn't do that right. I didn't do this
Mhm.
right. I wish I had done this. And people, mentors, loved ones would come to me and they would say, Trell, like that's people's first experience with it. Like you might have all these things in your head, but you gotta watch how people are experiencing this thing
Yeah.
and like what you're doing for people and what this space provides, and give yourself grace. And it took me a while to get to a point where I'd be like, you know what, that was good,
Yeah.
or that was good enough. You know what I mean? Instead of being like, oh, that could have been better, oh, I wish I had done that. So I just entered a season of giving myself grace, and it did wonders for my anxiety that I was having, for my,
Mhm.
mental health, for my physical health. So that would be the advice that I would give. It's we also deserve grace.
Yeah.
We deserve that. And we don't have to like fight to get it. We don't have to like struggle to get it. Like we can have it inherently. So that would be the advice that I would give, because I didn't give myself a lot of grace for a long time. Like throughout like a lot of those things that you mentioned, I was like, beating myself up along the way. And which is why I'm so grateful. I think about, I mentioned mentors, but I'm so grateful for, wisdom and mentorship and the love that surrounded me because it sustained me. So like give yourself grace. Also, surround yourself with great people that love you, people that you feel good around, people that you feel good when you have a meeting with them and you leave. Like surround yourself with those types of people, because they are going to be a constant reminder and a constant edifier of you, and a constant like source of that grace.
I love that because one of the things I sometimes I'll get asked, like, well, how do you figure out what you're going to do next? Or how do you feel like confident in what you're doing? Or how do you not get like bogged down by all the stuff you do? And I always state that, like, I am surrounded by people who believe in me more than me, which is saying a lot because I very much believe in myself a lot. I feel as though centering Black mental like wealth and and well-being and building generational bonds. This is literally what I was put on this earth to do. But even with that, sometimes it's just like, man, my submission didn't get approved, or that grant didn't get approved. And I'll talk to my friends and I'll be like, and they're lost. Listen, like, let's take a minute. I don't want to deny how you're feeling, but like, this is what you
Yeah.
do. So I think that's helpful in the first place because I'm surrounded by people who believe in me more than me. And I believe in myself a lot, and even the power of
Mhm.
mentorship. I think that more individuals should, delve into the aspect of mentorship because there are so many different realms that I don't really know certain levels of expertise. And one thing I will always do is I will just ask. And I think so many
Yeah.
people are uncomfortable asking. And I've never really gotten that because I grew up in a house with my mom that we had to, like, if we wanted to go somewhere, we had to have the parents' name and number. We darn near had to have their social security, mom. We had to have like who picking you up and who dropping you off. I'm not doing both. I will either pick you up or drop you off. I'm not doing both. Where do their parents work? So we had to like ask a bunch of questions to be able to go somewhere. So I got very comfortable being like, so I do need your mom's and your dad's cell phone. If I could get a blood test, that would also be helpful. There's definitely not going to be a sleepover because we don't do those, but I will be able to, like come to this event. And my mom always
Mhm.
told me that there's no issue with asking because you're already at no. And if you don't ask, you're going to stay there, you know? So
Yeah, I
I
love
always
that. I
feel like
love
I've been
that.
trying to tell people, like, listen, ask. Because what are they going to say? Most people are not malicious. Most people are not malicious. Like some people are, maybe they're too busy or maybe they didn't get the email. But I have never asked someone something and then they just like verbally like slap me in the face. A lot of times it's like, oh, well, I can, or oh, well, let's think about later, or oh, I'd love to, but it might be later down the line. Even the no's are typically full of grace, right? But if you
Right.
don't ask, you're just gonna stay at no. I don't feel like there's any issue. And also just being like a no isn't the end of the world. So I think more people need to ask yourself stuff about mentors. Even audience, even with Trell coming on the podcast, I was like, I just love your stuff. Can you come on my podcast? He just said, yeah. Just like y'all. Just ask. What's the big
That's
deal?
good. I love that's such good advice from your mom too. That was your mom that gave you that
Yep.
advice.
Hmm.
You're already at no, like it's only up. That's really great advice. I love it.
Yeah, and it helps with the confidence in the first place. So it sounds like you said give yourself grace. I think grace can look different for a lot of people. Your grace, it sounds like, is slowing down and appreciating all that you're doing, and then also gratitude in the first place.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, gratitude has played such a substantial part in my journey. I even get it's at the point now where I search for things to be grateful for.
Hmm.
Like I'm constantly searching for even the smallest things to be grateful for because if once you really can like set your mind there, like wow, I woke up, I'm able to do this for myself. I have a phone to make a phone call. I have a computer and Wi-Fi that like makes the things work. Once you really can center yourself in like there's so much around me to be grateful for, like you realize just how abundant blessings are. You realize how abundant you are. You realize like so many things, and you get into this space of expectation of more great things, you know? And being in a place of gratitude and expectation of the great game changer because it's like, ooh, like what's gonna happen today? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how I get up every single day. Like, ooh, what's gonna happen today? Who am I gonna meet today? What cool thing am I gonna be involved in today? And I'm telling you, like, it just brings me like more and more things. Sometimes I'm like overwhelmed by them, to be completely honest with you.
That's amazing. That's a blessing. I feel like when it comes to breaking it down, I think that's helpful in so many different realms. I remember working with a patient who felt like they had no choices. They felt like they were hopeless and they're like, I have no choice in anything. And I'm like, okay, so let's break it down. Like, one, you came into session today. What made you come into session? Like you came on your own. It's like, oh, well, I decided to do that. Okay. Two, I broke down everything from like, I mean, did you eat today? What did you eat? How did you decide to come here? They were wearing shorts. I was like, you could have came here just in your drawers. I'm not saying I agree with
Right,
it,
right.
but like, like sometimes I'm not saying that you don't have, I'm not saying that there aren't opportunities and options in your life where you feel as though the choice was made for you. But I also want you to break things down and slow it down to think about the choices that led to you even being here in session. And while there may be one realm where choices are being taken away from you, or you don't feel it's like some choices, sometimes I think people think a choice is going to be like it's going to be like a clear as day win-lose situation or a win-win situation. Sometimes the choice is like, okay, so I could either chop off your big toe or your pinky toe. Some getting chopped off though, and either way, it's like, I mean, can there be I don't want anything chopped off. Nah, it's going to suck. Which one? And those are the decisions that I think are harder for people. And I'm just like, let's just break it down. Let's talk about the choices you do have. Let's slow down. And it's one of the reasons why therapy or outside of therapy or journaling or gratitude and taking moments can be so helpful because the world doesn't really provide you the opportunity to slow down most of the time. And because
Mm,
of that, you miss out on those little things. Like when you wake up, even some people just wake up, jump up, look on their phone. The way you can change your life by waking up, just breathing for a second, and before you even move, just have a thought of like, all right, so I'm up. Look at that. I wonder what today's gonna be like. But some people just, all right, well, I got these emails. I even tell people not to actually plug their phone up by their bed. I plug my phone up downstairs, so it's not the first thing I reach for. Because it's not the best thing for you. And knowing me, I'm not about to get out this bed to get my phone. So some stuff you have to prep because y'all shouldn't be looking at screens as soon as you go to bed and then as soon as you wake up. Do you do that, Trell? Is your phone plugged up by your bed?
it's
It's
close.
close.
Yes. Yes, it is close. It is definitely within arms or a little stretch
A little stretch.
arms view. Yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't hate if you moved that. Like,
No, I'm like literally as you were talking, I'm like, where else can I put it? Like, so you're definitely having an no, and I think it makes perfect sense. I usually start like though with like some sort of journaling
hmm
or like writing. Like I have very close, like definitely within arm's reach, a dream journal and like
I
a
love
a
that.
notebook, and I definitely start off with that.
Yeah, I love that. Have you read the book by Alexandra L. How We Heal?
No, I haven't read. I've read some of her work. Definitely follow her on socials and stuff, but I haven't read that one. No.
It has a bunch of, she does healing through writing. So it has a bunch of prompts and stuff like that that have helped her. So I always think like, I always appreciate when there's more tangible stuff, just in case since you are a journaler as well. But I will also state that one of the amazing things that you do is you give people their flowers, figuratively and literally. And in one event, Taraji P. Henson toasted you as the man who came to Hollywood to
Oh
give.
yeah,
In that realm,
yeah.
how do you define like success, and how has this definition evolved over your career? Because you have someone who's, people could be like, and that was the pinnacle, and I was good. Like when it came to my success, I feel as though I was able to, I think the aspect of what you're doing is to give, like you're trying to provide this experience and you're trying to center luxury and even just the diversity of Black experience. Like to me, that is a very successful thing. And it seems like it's
Mm.
also being seen. And I feel like so many times success is like, I want my message to be seen. I want it to be understood. I want it to be felt. I want it to be embodied. And it seems like if you think of success that way, you're already pretty successful. So how do you define, because I see it, everybody else see it. How do you define success with all of your ventures, and how has that possibly evolved over your career?
I think it's definitely changed over time. Like I used to feel like success was it was more outwardly
hmm
for me. Like it was, how many people are talking about it or how many awards or accolades like come with it, right? And I think those are some measures of success. But now like my measure of success is more like how does this make me feel and how is it making other people feel?
Yeah.
Like so for that measure, like and that helped me change like what I was doing and like how I was showing up and like how I was arranging or organizing the things that I was doing or what I was saying yes to and what I was saying no
Yeah.
to, right? So for me, it's how do I feel? And that measure of success is both like professionally and personally. Like, how do I feel with this person?
hmm
How do I feel in this room? How do I feel at this party? How do I feel? You know what I mean? And that determines like how long I stay and be a part of it, how long, that person might be a part of my life in that capacity, all of those things. So for me, it's more so how it makes you feel. And like the Taraji is so interesting that you brought up the Taraji comment because like I've been getting a lot more of those types of reactions to the things that I'm doing. Like Kelly Rowland said something really beautiful, and Danielle Brooks said something really beautiful at that same brunch, and Michelle Lee Ralph. And so what I had learned through that and why I feel like that has become a measure of like the success of Black Excellence Brunch because I've been in a lot of celebrity
hmm
spaces, right? Like from the Obama campaign to all of the incredible work I've done and get to do with Miss Tina Knowles Lawson with her ventures and the Wearable Art Gala, which is just these star-studded like moments and events. And it has been like all of my career where I've ended up in those spaces in some sort of way. So I've seen like celebrities move and
Mhm.
through those spaces, and I've recognized the difference of how they show up at like a Black Excellence Brunch or at like a Wearable Art Gala, or like in these spaces where people feel safe to be authentic, to stick around for a while, to let their guard down, to share, to cry, to laugh. Like, and to me, that is a measure of success of the Black Excellence Brunch. And it's not just, people that are recognizable, quote unquote, like people, right? It's also like just guests that come and say, like, Trell, like, I've never experienced anything like this before. Or like they like tell me like how they feel in the space. And it's like me having to literally extend the time that we have in the venue because people want to stay. They want to stay longer, you know. Those have become measures of success. And like I think another big measure of success for me is like the freedom. Like I don't know how many people like are working a job or at a place where they don't feel free. For me, I feel so free in the things that I'm doing now. Like in the conversations that I have, in the meetings that I take, in the interviews that I do, like there is an amount of freedom to show up like as me. And that's it. You know what I mean? I don't have to like code switch or pretend to be this or like wear a three-piece suit or or talk a certain way. Like I am free to be myself. And I like to like extend that freedom to other people. So that is also a big measure of success.
Yeah, you provide an opportunity, a space that allows individuals to take the mask off, right? Because a lot of times people mention code switching, and code switching just refers to language, but masking is what I find most of my patients and most of my clients
Yeah.
doing because they're creating whole avatars. They're sublimating whole aspects of themselves. I always tell the story of I had a black man who was a patient and he was kind of tall, he would physically shrink himself down. Either he would always be sitting because he was a tall, dark skinned dude. He would either always be sitting during things, or he would kind of just be like, I understand, like how some people may find like a black man threatening, let alone a tall black man. And he would like, can you imagine, like, not even being able to sit up straight and like events because he didn't pull it out of somewhere. Like it would always be something people commented on. Oh, you're a big one.
Mhm.
Like, what is first of all, hello, I'm the CEO of this. Like it would just be a lot. And you provided space for people to unmask, which is so important because that code switching, that creating a whole different avatar, that putting that mask on, it's like the movie The Mask. The longer he kept it on, the harder it was for him to take it off, right?
Take it
Your
off,
weekends
right?
become less rejuvenative. Like most people are at work or at school longer than they're at home. You have loss of identity. You're more likely to be burnt out. You're already dealing with stuff in the world. And then you have to do that while not being able to wear your hair the way you want, say things you want to say, always having to check and double check yourself. Like providing a space where people are able to take the mask off, that's very powerful, right? Like not only in the aspect of like the brunch and sharing that, but just as someone in mental health, people wearing the mask, it contributes to the detriment of their mental health. They're exhausted. They
Mm,
don't know who they are outside of these realms. And I want to also mention and acknowledge that like the brunch doesn't only honor black celebrities, but it's also the community at large overall.
correct.
How do you, when you're coming up with this event, how do you balance celebrating high profile achievements while also highlighting everyday black excellence within the community, because you do both?
Yeah, like one of the ways, like I guess the most like visible way is like I create like this luxurious like environment,
Hmm.
right? And that everybody gets access to that luxury. You know what I mean? It's not like, ooh, this person is separated or like there's this velvet rope that separates people. Like people, everyone is in the same space. Everybody is a VIP. There's not a separate band that this person gets and this person gets that. And I've worked with like event companies or brands that are like, okay, so for our VIPs, we're gonna do this. And I'm just like, everybody's a VIP. That's not a
Yeah.
difference. So for me, that's one way because people walk into the space and they're like, wait a minute, I'm sitting right next to Kelly Rowland? Like how many times does that happen
Yeah.
for people? And I think that, it's beautiful for both ends of it, right?
Mhm.
Like you have the celebrity that gets to feel like, for lack of a better word,
Yeah.
normal. You know what I mean? And more people desire that than you know. I think that's one way. And for me, like in addition to like our honoree or our celebratory guests,
Mhm.
I also carve out a moment to just shine a light on people in the room. So I'll call it like spotlighting Black excellence. So I always do at a brunch. I'll be like, I just want to spotlight some of the Black excellence in the room, and I'll randomly pick people that are at different tables and in different parts of the room, and just acknowledge them because and tell why I believe that they're incredible and why they are adding to the beautiful excellence in the room. And that's a part that I make sure to do, or I'll do a toast to Black excellence and then I'll highlight those people. But I do it at every single event, and it's become like it is a very important part of the event. And I feel like the last way, or like one of the other ways, is I literally hand select every single person that comes into the event. That is like something that is a non-negotiable for me because I want to make sure that I'm spreading the love,
Mhm.
that I've got like different types of people. I'm connecting people that may have never got the chance to sit at the same table or to connect before. So I do that as well, and I'm really intentional about that.
I love that. And I mean, one thing that's obvious to me is that just like the tradition of Sunday dinners serves as a healing space for many, I think the Black Excellence Brunch also serves as a healing space for many too. How do you view the Black brunches? Yeah. How do you, Black Excellence Brunch, how do you view the Bibs role? I have to shorten everything. It's being around students. I'm not going to lie to you. I
Yeah,
actually,
yeah, I call it BB all the time,
yes,
so you can say
being
it.
around students, I will actually shorten things in my head, and I'm just like, why did I do that? Like, what? It's just the youth have
No, I like
they.
it. I like it. Go with it.
But how do you view the brunch's role in supporting the mental health of the Black community?
Yeah. I feel like it is affirming space.
Hmm.
Like I more than anything, like and for me it's it's a healing space for me. Like for me, I needed to be affirmed. I needed to know that it was okay to be myself.
Yeah.
I went through a very tough time before I moved to LA and went on this full-time entrepreneurial journey, right? And at that time, what I needed most was the affirmation that I was enough,
Hmm.
like as me. And a lot of that leaked over into the building of and the pieces and the elements of Black Excellence Brunch. Like at every point, I wanted to affirm and love on people where they were, as they were. You know what I mean? Even the all white, it's not just because like, oh, like I'm trying to like make people wear different, but I wanted people to love this. I wanted to see the skin,
Hmm.
right? I wanted to see all these shades of like black and brown. So the contrast of the skin tones against the white, like I wanted people to be able to look and be like, wow, you know what I mean? Like that skin that I'm in is beautiful. The skin that person's in is beautiful. So there was intentionality between every piece because it also came at a time where I didn't feel like, because of my blackness,
Hmm.
I felt like underappreciated, undervalued. I felt like set aside in a lot of places that I was in. And it was a reminder to myself, like, no, Trell, like your skin is actually one of the most beautiful attributes about you. You know what I mean? So, for me, I feel like the way that Black Excellence Brunch aids to the aids in like being a affirmer or an up as far as like mental health is concerned is providing a space that just loves on people and meets them where they are. And I think that's so overlooked when it comes to a lot of communities,
Yeah.
right? But specifically we're talking about like the black community. It's so overlooked that it's important. And sometimes it doesn't have to be so mathematical or all of these like it can be very
Yeah.
simple. it can be as simple as like creating a space, not charging people to attend. I don't charge people, don't buy a ticket or anything like that. Like, because a lot of times people will show up and or they'll message you and be like, well, "How much or how do I get in?" It's just like, no, you just invited, you just came. Like, what do you want to do?
They can't
I
believe
want you
it
to
because
bring
they're
yourself.
not used to, a space. They
Yeah,
can't
like
believe it.
people are in discipline. I'm like, no, I want you to bring yourself. Oh, well, how can I get? No, just and I even tell people like, even with social media, which is how the brunch has grown so much, is like people share it and they tell somebody else and they tell somebody else
Mhm.
and they share the video. Like even with that, I tell people jokingly at the brunch, I'd be like, if you enjoyed yourself, share it. If you didn't, don't say nothing. Like for me, it's just like I just want you to, I, I just want to like affirm you and to love on you. That's it. And it's because I needed that too.
Yeah.
You know, I needed that love, and I didn't even realize that, a part of like when I was building this, it was building a place where I felt like I could leave and feel better. Um, so yeah.
I love that. One of the exercises I tell my patients is like when they identify, like when we hit a wall, if they feel like they're not being affirmed or they realize the theme keeps coming up, like a negative thought spiral. I ask them to think about like when's the first time you remember these negative thoughts about yourself coming up? And
Mhm.
like say it's like, oh, I was in my room and I was like 15 and something happened and all that. And I'm like, okay, so right now I want you to speak to yourself. I want you to give that 15-year-old you, I want you to say what they needed to hear at that moment, right? Like the reason why this is still prevalent in you is because, there's the way difficulties happen is tell patients like you need to ask like what did you get versus what did you need? When those things match, when you got what you wanted to get, if you got what you needed, most of the time we're good. It's smooth sailing, right? But where conflict comes in and rumination comes in and either like even like guilt or shame is like the aspect of what you got versus what you needed was not the same, right? So when you experience that first negative thought that you can clearly remember, you say those words to yourself the same way that you did when you were 15. I'm like, okay, what did you get? I got silence. Nobody knew how to deal with me. I got told people had it worse than me. I got told I'm a teenager. What's the big deal? I don't have no job. I live here rent free, right? And I'm like, what did you need? I needed somebody to tell me that it was okay for me to feel that way. I needed somebody to tell me just because I have a roof over my head doesn't mean that my problems aren't valid. I needed someone to honestly just, sit with me, even if they weren't saying anything. I'm like, okay, so say all those things to yourself. And if you have a support
Mhm.
system, that's what you need. Like a lot of the stuff that people are needing now is what they needed when they were younger too. They just didn't get it, right? So I love how you provide that space because it's a space where everyone gets to benefit and that's amazing, but it was also what you needed. I honestly feel the same way
Yeah.
about the podcast. Before I knew I was bringing season 3, I'm like, these are all these people I want to talk to. Why don't y'all, let's advertise so people can listen to. But these are people I want to talk to. I'm excited to talk to them. So like, so it's just like, I mean, I
Mhm,
record it.
mhm.
Y'all get to be here too, but like, I mean, I'm geeks. I want to talk to these people. I would talk if it was recorded or not. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like sometimes you just gotta you do something for you, and then if something benefits you, just because I feel like there's a collective consciousness and collective identity with the Black community overall, very rarely is something like very rarely are we isolated in terms of like the pain or the joy. I find that things that like pipe us up individually, you will be able to find someone else that would benefit. And I really try to focus on that. Like, okay, this is something that you need. This is something that benefited you. This is something that made you smile. I guarantee you it's something that made somebody else smile, right? Like sharing the Black Excellence Brunch. I bet you there's so many people who are just like, that looks so much fun, looks like so much fun. When's the last time we had a Sunday dinner? Oh, that looks amazing. When's the last time I saw so and so? Oh, that looks great. You know what? I'm gonna do it up a little bit this week on a Wednesday. Like I have a little bit extra time. Why don't I set the
Mhm,
table? Like
mhm.
it benefits. That's why I feel like social media gets a bad rap. But when social media is done well, seeing stuff that like brings a smile to your face and then people share it. There's this one page I follow and all they do is it's like they always share like Black kids smiling. I love it. Like literally, I just get to look at. I don't even know these kids, and I'm like, this
Yeah,
is
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, I love that.
Like just having Black joy. So I love that. I also wanted to. So I feel like we've covered a lot, but I wanted to talk about like the giving the flowers aspect, because you do it, you're giving people their flowers, but you also physically give them flowers, which I love, to the people who brought you joy through their work. This is a significant aspect of your brunches. How do you see this practice of acknowledgement, this practice of celebration as a contributor to the overall mental well-being of the honorees as well as the attendees? Because just like you mentioned, it's like everybody's VIP, and everybody's
Yeah.
VIP, you all get to see this practice of acknowledgement and celebration as well.
Yeah. I think people want to be seen.
Hmm.
Like they want to be seen, like really seen. And for me, I'll even, go to the length of what's their favorite color? Like, what is their favorite this or what do they like or what? And I'll make sure to incorporate, like, I'll get, if your favorite color is green, I'll get you some green flowers and like make sure that the adornment, like, I'm very intentional about that because I want the person to know that I see them.
Yeah.
I really see them, you know? And it's different. It's different from like getting a Grammy if you're Kelly Rowland, or getting, a ad week acknowledgement if you are Bozeman St. John, right? It's different to be acknowledged and seen by your people
Yes.
and to be loved on in a very intentional way. And so for me, I always try to personalize everything that I do. Even, down to like the past Black Excellence Brunch we did in partnership with Hulu. For me, it was just like I wanted to bring that '90s nostalgia to it, and I made sure that I invited people who were very connected to the '90s,
Mhm.
right? And the guest list. And then I like was like, okay, how can I make all these touch points that make them remember, from the things that we ate to like the tablescapes and the photo moments. But then I was like, out of budget, right? Completely out of budget. I'm like, remember those airbrush tees that everybody really loved? And I know for myself in the 90s, I had like an airbrush. I had
I
everything
had the
airbrush. I
hat
had a
and the
bucket hat.
tee,
I had all these
all
things.
of it.
Exactly. And I was like, I'm going to get someone to airbrush like t-shirts that say Black Excellence on them.
Mhm.
And I wanted everybody to go home with them. And so for me, I'm just thinking about all those things. I'm like, you know what? I would really love that.
Yeah.
If somebody did that for me. And so at the end, like people were so full from the food. They watched the film. I'd given them like, snacks and all these things. And then as a surprise and delight moment, as they're walking out, they get this like airbrush personalized like t-shirt. So I think, to answer your question, just giving people their flowers and really allowing them to be seen,
Mhm.
it makes so much of a difference. I can't tell you how many people have come up to me afterward, like some of your favorite names that have been a part of it, like Trell. I have to tell you that I've never experienced anything like this before. Like I've never felt so much love. I've never, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like in a space, at an event. And you know, that I feel like that's the difference, and that's the extra mile that we take with Black Excellence Brunch to make sure that, and that's how I also show up in my life,
Mhm.
right? Like I am one of those people during the holidays. I will study you the whole year. Like, what did you say you did? Or what's that one time we were in the car and you couldn't do this because you didn't have this? Or like like anything, I'm paying attention, and then I make sure that I incorporate all the knowledge that I've gained into like the gift that I give, or the thing that I say, or and it allows you to be seen. It allows you to feel heard.
Mhm.
And again, it's to your point, which I love, that I'm talking to somebody who like really does this. Like, it is what I find it more often, that it is all the things that I needed,
Yeah.
or I felt like I needed at some point in my life, and I'm able to like give those things to myself and to give them to other people. So I really,
I love that. I will say I have a notes app of everybody in my life. And when they say something similar like that, like, yeah, man, I was trying to get this perfume, but it was a little too indulgent or something like that. And my friends and family, they don't like random gifts. It got to be a holiday. So it's just an excuse for me to be like, girl, I was gonna get this I didn't have this for a month. I was gonna give this to you in a month, but if I gave it to you a month ago, you would have been like, what's the occasion or whatever. So I just saved it for your
Yeah,
birthday and for Christmas. You know, like I just because
that's
the
me.
aspect of you celebrating, I like the fact that practice that and make you practice that and you make it a point to do that simply because so many people feel like it's inappropriate to celebrate themselves. Oh, I'm not trying to
Mm.
be egotistical. You know, like, well, you can't say too much about yourself because it don't be seen bragging. Some people even feel uncomfortable doing it because they think someone's going to take it away from them, right? So I love the fact that you normalize luxury and family and a place of love, allowing people to take the mask off. Because as someone who does this, one of the biggest things, in addition to like what you got versus what you needed, they weren't the same thing. People not feeling seen, feeling like even if it's in a room full of people, even if it's during a time where it should have been like a happy event, and just feeling like there's still like a gap there, they're still not fully understood and embraced. That disparity is just stressful. People question themselves. And it leads to your mental health difficulties because, when you mention the aspect of celebrities and them stating they've never felt more seen, yes, they have, celebrities are people. Yeah, like some of them have much cooler jobs, yes. But like, think about how often, like, it's also your job to be in the public eye, like it's also how often do you get to take the mask off? You're consistently, the Black Excellence Brunch, one of the things is it's like a family affair, meaning like Black people, it's a family affair because we're a collective identity. But think about how many spaces they're in where there's not that many Black people that, there, or they're still being expected to, be grateful when it's just like, be grateful. I'm one of the best to ever do it. The pleasure was all yours, honey. You know what I'm saying? Like, just so I love that you provide that space of normalizing that. And I really want all the listeners to understand that like this is something that contributes to healing. Taking the mask off, first you got to acknowledge that it's on, but like taking the mask off and realizing that the special occasion is you and that you are allowed to celebrate yourself and you can have flowers just to have them. And maybe, just maybe, all this hustle and bustle in life has taken you away from your community and you haven't been to a family dinner or created one in a minute. And community is healing. Because y'all will hear me say this a million times. You don't need therapy to heal, but you can't heal in isolation. You do need community, right? Therapy is a tool, but community is necessary, right? Like I've seen many people, they do amazing stuff with their well-being and their evolution of thought, and they didn't go to therapy. They had a support system. They took the time to slow down. As Black people, like our community is everything. That's why your space is where people are like, I've never been to anything like that. Yeah, it's probably the most Black. When the last time you got to be around all these Black people with good food, you got all this stuff, and we get to just
Right,
kick it,
right,
like
right,
I
right.
bet you people probably got their shoes off at your event. Like
I mean,
I bet you.
it's definitely a family affair for sure. And I think that, to your point, like in places, especially in places like LA, I do a lot of them in LA, but
Mhm.
also just all over the country and all over the world. Like we've done South Africa and Ghana, but like so many places where people don't have their family,
Yeah.
right? They don't have like those, familiar faces, or they don't get to feel that love as often. And so this, in addition to like all of the things that we mentioned, it provides like a sense of extended family,
Mhm.
right? And I think that really makes a difference. It makes a difference for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm such a family, like my family is huge and my grandmother had 12 kids.
Mm.
So it's like when we would do those, my mother would do those dinners and so it was everybody. I
Yeah.
mean, our house wasn't huge, but like it was filled to the brim and like rotating, there would be like sections of people. There would be like the people that came from 2 to 3 and then the people that came from 4.
I
It
love
was
it.
like
Yeah.
well into the night. And I feel like I get to experience that every single time over again when we do these Black Excellence brunches. And somebody asked me the other day, like, Trell, do you get tired? And honestly, I don't.
Yeah.
It is such a re-energize. There are moments, right, where you're like, oh man, I gotta do this, or oh man, like I wonder if this is gonna come together, or please, like, let this space be available, whatever the thing is. But I'm telling you, I feel such re-energizing.
Mhm.
Like when I'm there and I feel better. And I tell people like, after it happens, it takes me the longest time to go to sleep that night
Yeah.
because I'm so excited and I'm so pumped up and I'm so energized. And yeah, it just brings me back to like gratitude, like brings me back to like where we started the conversation, right? On this place of like just being super, super grateful.
Yeah, like I get to do this. Like, yes, I want to make sure things happen on time and the food is hot and stuff like that. But I think it's the difference between I have to do this and I get to do this,
Get
right?
to do
Like, yeah,
this.
there's going to
Yeah.
be a bunch of points where you're just like, oh man, I got to reserve this. And like, there's stress, but that's motivation. It's not like the kind of stress that takes you out. It's just like stress gets stuff done. If people weren't stressed out enough to like complete tasks, nothing would get done. It's like, yes, these are tasks that are all built into this amazing thing that I get to do. Like I get to, y'all, this is my job. Like I do this. Like I get to create these spaces and you guys feel seen in that. So I love that because everything in it, everything that you've shared is very much what I feel as though is missing in the day-to-day lives of Black people, feeling seen,
Mm.
being able to celebrate themselves and providing a space where they get to be around community and family because, when it comes to mental health, I work with a lot of people and a lot of people weren't provided the family that they deserve, like the family that respects them and honors them and are concerned about them. And because of that, I state that family of origin and family of choice are the same, right? Like the people that I went to college with, I've been talking to forever, Lions, this, all that, this is my family, right? Like I'm okay for
Hmm.
them. It could be somebody I knew since the womb, or it'll be somebody I used to hang out on the yard with, but like, that's my family. You see what I'm saying? And like being able to craft
Right.
that space, Black people, it's just like, it's about community. Like it's very much like we've been having aunties and uncles. Like I don't even know which ones are actual cousins, but I've known them for over 10 years. That's my cousin. Like that's the rule, like, man,
Right. Right.
like we did
Right.
sleepovers. That's my cousin. I didn't know them for over 6 years. That's literally the rule. I don't make the rules. I just follow them.
Mm.
And I feel like that's a very important point within the Black community, because especially during a time where, a lot of times if we think all the way back to enslavement, we didn't know, you weren't around your blood family, and so many aspects of like family being taken away and stuff like that, and still being able to build that community and understanding that even though it was intentional to try to sever our ties with each other, we built that. Like we understood that, like, okay, this is my family. These are the people who I get up with. These are the people who I talk to. These are the people who I work with, laugh with, cry with. This is my family. So I love that. Well, I want to end on discussing, like, do you have any, well, I'm sure you do, but I don't know, some people can't share everything. So like any upcoming projects or initiatives that you're most excited about and continuing this amazing legacy. And it very much is a legacy. I hope you like, you got everybody giving you your flowers, but like, I very much see like and feel the energy that people feel seen in your events. Whether you were doing them with the boxes and highlighting Black brands that I'm sure people never even heard of, whether you're doing with the sponsorship and being like, this is who we're going to prioritize and people get to show up. Like, I really do hope you understand like the aspect of legacy that you're creating, that like people, I'm very sure that people feel seen in that. So do you have any, I'm gonna give you your flowers, like, but like,
Thank you. I received that. I received that. I've been trying to do a better job of just like receiving.
yeah.
My initial reaction used to be like, "Oh no, like it's not," you know what I mean? But I'm very intentional now about just like hearing and receiving that. And I've never heard like that I'm building a legacy. People say
Mhm.
like nice things, so that's a very beautiful and like uh just I feel good. I felt all warm like when you were talking about it. I'm grateful that like I was given this or entrusted with this
Mhm.
purpose and this responsibility, and I want to do right by it.
Yeah.
I want to do right by everyone involved. And as far as like things that are coming up, yes, we are going to continue to do the Black Excellence Brunches. There are tons of them. The calendar of this year is filled with them. We're going to be showing up at some of your favorite places like Essence Festival, and we're heading for like international again.
Mhm.
So my goal is to also like continue to expand it globally. And then in addition to that, I'm actually getting back into the executive producer seat. So I'm very excited about that, to create content for us, by us, that really helps shift the narrative and helps like educate people in the way that a Freaknik documentary did, right? In the way that Profile the Black Man did. I'm getting back into the executive producer seat in this year, and I couldn't be more excited to do that. And another thing that I feel like is a part of like all of this, right? Like from the Black Excellence boxes to the Black Excellence Brunch to even like executive producing and creating, is I feel a part of my responsibility is to hold brands accountable, right? To hold brands that wouldn't exist if had it not been for us,
Mm-hmm.
for Black people, for the culture,
Yeah.
right? To make sure that they're doing their part to give back to us, to pour into this community that so much comes from. So that's another part of mine. Like I found that as a part of my responsibility, and I really take so much joy in doing. And I've had so much not only success but just positive feedback from, and especially in a climate that's trying to get rid of D and I, right?
Yeah. If y'all watching this on video,
So
my smile went away so quick, y'all.
it's my goal to to continue to move things forward
Yeah.
because it's important.
I love that. And I can't wait to see more of the things that you're producing. I have two boys, and one of the things that I've noticed and one of the things that I'm trying to do more of is I've always focused more on like the Black culture overall. But a lot of my work was with Black girls and Black women. And then I got these two boys, and in the search for things where like they're centered, and even from board books to mentoring programs, it's not comparable to, and Black girls still and Black women still need more, but it's in no way comparable with Black men as it
Mhm.
is, or Black boys as it is with Black girls. And I love the fact that you did a project centering Black men, because I get asked a lot, like, why aren't there more Black men clinicians? And I always state that, like, it starts with childhood. If we have an entire group of individuals who aren't allowed to have their emotions or acknowledge them or feel them, why would they go into a career path where that's their whole job, right? Like, we don't even
Mhm.
provide a space or an opportunity to normalize, like, Black boys are can be anything they want to be. They're able to acknowledge emotions, feel them. Many people don't realize that children only learn how to regulate emotions that they're allowed to have. They're not allowed to have anger. They're not allowed to have frustration or sadness or even, just confusion. They're never going to learn how to regulate an emotion they're not allowed to have, right? And not
Mhm.
even just in the home, but the world is a lot of times fearful of Black men, the Black body overall, but Black men. So if they're not even allowed to have anger from childhood, how are they ever going to learn how to regulate it?
Mhm.
Like, how are they ever going to get that? So I can't wait to watch more of what you're doing. And I really appreciate the fact that you did a whole entire piece on Black men, because I'm every single day I'm looking out for more stuff for my boys, like trying to just create a space where they're able to be safe. I understand that, like, proximity is an experience, but I don't even like my husband going out after dark to take the trash out. Like, I literally be like, man, it's not, we don't need this right now. Like, you making me uncomfortable. Like, yo, like,
Yeah.
it's 10. Why do you gotta take it out at 11 o'clock at night? Like, what? Go to sleep, like waiting by the door. So, like, I appreciate that, because when you have that aspect of representation, and it's not just in books, but in media, it causes a ripple effect. And that's why I really try to focus on representation in media, for people to understand that, like, your legacy are these events, but that those things that you produce, it causes a ripple effect. Like, there's no way someone is not going to see that and feel seen. And
Mhm.
it contributes to, it makes what I do easier. I'll be real with you. When there's appropriate representation, when I have other referral sources where I could be like, watch this documentary, and the documentary is out there, it makes all jobs for mental health professionals easier, because we can give like a touch point of like a tangible thing. So I appreciate that. Tell the people where to find you. And yeah, it'll be in the show notes too, but just share where they can find you and keep track of all the amazing things that you're doing.
Yeah, sure. So I'm most active on Instagram. So I'll give people my Instagram. It's just Trell World, TRELWORLD. And Black Excellence Brunch is Black Excellence Brunch on all platforms. So we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram. Instagram is the most active,
Yeah.
and Facebook. So at Black Excellence Brunch at all of those spaces. And yeah, those are where you can find and keep up with a majority of the things that I'm doing. Yeah, check me out, shoot me a message. Hopefully, maybe we'll see some of you at a Black Excellence Brunch. And and I just want to express gratitude for you for making space on your platform and inviting me on. And I want to also speak life into what you're doing. I hope that you continue to do it. You're changing and impacting lives, mine included today. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I too am working on accepting compliments. I used to do the same thing. And one time I was talking to my psychologist, and I'm like, it's like someone singing happy birthday to you at a restaurant. Like, what what do I do with my hands? What am I, you know, like, what?
Just receive.
Yeah, you know, so I just, you know, I'd be like, thank you. So like, yeah, listen, we're both on this journey together because I too
I
have
love
to be
that
like, yeah, okay. So thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming. I appreciate it. All of his information will be in the show notes, and y'all have a fantastic rest of your day.